So, Leo, this one is for you, and it's Tarot Lumination with your love and relationship report for October 2017. That's you, Leo. And you've probably seen this before. You've done this before. You watch for your sun and your moon and your rising, all of that stuff. You know the drill, and you reinterpret everything and create your own story, okay? Now we're shuffling to the last second so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. Just simple energy reading, okay? Straightforward. We're going to read for you and the other and the relationship, on the understanding that the relationship has a separate identity of its own, and a life and existence and a purpose and a being of its own. It needs to be honored and respected and understood in order for a healthy relationship to occur. All right, we are ready. Let's go. You'll see what we're talking about in a moment. I'm sorry there's a lot of repeating sometimes on some of the notes to get people warmed up into the reading, but otherwise I have to make a totally separate video to explain the reason for the spread. Anyway, try and keep it short and simple and sweet. This is you, Leo, your energy, okay? This would be the energy of a significant other, a person of interest, a chosen mate, chosen relationship, and vice versa, okay? It goes both ways, all right, people? So, and this is going deep inside of you, Leo. This is going deep inside the other, and this is going into the core of the relationship itself. So you can already see her here. I hope you can see this. This is the crucible we were talking about. The crucible is a bowl that can endure tremendous pressure. It's like a very strong container. They use it in science experiments to conduct very challenging, let's say, tests. And in a really healthy relationship, you invest in the relationship. You conduct everything through the relationship for the benefit of yourselves and each other. What can you bring to the relationship? What are they bringing to the relationship? As opposed to, what are you guys trying to get out of the relationship? So, and this would be the momentum. And over here, we're going to look at this in a moment. This will be the like energy that permeates the whole thing. Call it the weather. I like to call it the weather. And you're not going to be owned by it, hopefully. Hopefully this will be something that you understand and you recognize and you make the best of it. If it's really challenging, you make the best of it. You don't have to be owned by it. If it's absolutely beautiful weather, it doesn't mean you have to be ridiculously happy by law. You can feel whatever you feel. Just don't let the weather own you, okay? It's there. Make the best of it. That's what we all have to do in the end. So what have we got? You've got the Five of Wands here. So there's an indication that there's a lot of, I would say, spirited activity going on with you, at least inside of you, or in your, let's say, your awareness of your environment around you, where it might not have a lot of clear definition of exactly what is going on, but there could be a lot of energy being exchanged between yourself and another in ways that are not understood. That could be almost like fake fighting, you know, that kind of stuff where people in relationships, they're posturing like, I know what they're doing. Well, in that case, I'm going to do a bit of this. And then they go, well, in case now I see that you're doing that, because if I did this, then I'm going to go off and do this. So it's a lot of posturing in order to like establish the status quo, maintain the power balance, do what a lot of people do in relationships, try to get through. Sometimes you have to battle through periods of relationship dynamics where you're taken to the limits of your abilities. And there's no harm intended. It's just that sometimes relationships bring out the spark, the fire in us, and the passion, and the desire to express and be understood in both directions. You might be feeling a lot of that desire. They might be feeling a lot of that desire. And maybe it's simmering up and bubbling up where it really needs to be expressed. You know, let's get this out there. Let's work this out. What's going on, people? Let's have a look at you, Leo. Okay, justice served. All right. So with the justice card here, if this is energy that you're radiating, Leo, it's about It's almost like saying, well, I told you so. I told you so. I knew it all along, and this is just how it is. Nothing good or bad about it. This is just how it is. And something has to be done about this. We're going to call it out. We're going to make a decision here. We're going to do what is just and appropriate. Well, let's put it this way. Leo, you're feeling like you might be in a position with, let's say, a lot of the circumstances around you where you might be like more of an observer and partly a participant, but a reluctant participant in all the simmering activity that's going around you, to the point where you might be feeling called upon to say, hold on a minute, excuse me, what's going on here? We need to call out the truth, what is actually happening here, and bring things into balance, because the circumstances and conditions are indicating that there's a lot of stuff going on here that might be just happening on autopilot, like pent-up energies about this, pent-up energies about that, expressions, feelings, emotions that don't get, let's say, fully processed. In other words, if the relationship is doing a lot, where there's a lot of activity, but it's happening on autopilot, where no one is taking very cautioned, measured, uh, judicious, loving steps as you move through the relationship. It might be full of fire and excitement right now, a lot of push and pull and pull and push, where it feels like stuff is happening. However, my feeling here is that it's like Leo is saying, wait a minute, hold on. We can't just go running around like a bunch of wild animals here. What's going on? We need to establish some order here and bring harmony and balance into the situation. Excuse me, I hope you don't mind if I make a judgment call. Thank you very much. Someone's got to do it. Someone has to be the grown up here and make the call. Call it out. What is going on? Click, clack. You know, like they do in a courthouse. They go with the hammer, whatever it is. Justice needs to be served. Also, one of the things about the justice energy is that it is served, and there's no malice about any of this. It's just like what a very, very reasonable, understanding, well-balanced adjudicator would do in any circumstances or situation where they're being called upon to make a value judgment, considering the circumstances and the situations. And that might be you, Leo. You might be appointing yourself as the judge and the jury, and let's say even the executioner. In other words, to get done whatever has to be done, you've decided you're going to call it out and if necessary make it happen. It might be taking on a lot, Leo, in the circumstances. We don't know that yet. Let's have a look at the other. What's going on with them? Okay, Leo, we might be dealing with some, let's say, power issues here, power dynamics, where there's a bit of a straight-faced situation here where, let's say there's you. Let's say this is you, Leo, just being you, doing your thing, living your life, and there they are. Your other, your person of your chosen relationship, your loved one, even the love of your life, your partner, your mate, someone who you hold very dear and they hold you very dear. And we're in a situation coming up in October where certain, let's say, truths are being revealed and called out by you because you want to understand what's going on in the environment of this relationship and the situation, because you might be sensing a lot of perhaps inner turmoil that is starting to show as external turmoil in the relationship and your surroundings itself, where it's time for you to call it out and say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, what is going on here? What's going on? We need to sort this out. And in so doing, you attract the significant other who is from their perspective is like, yes, what exactly do you want here? Excuse me. I hope you don't take this too personally, but please understand that I have a right to be absolutely me, the way I am, how I am, just because this is who I am. Okay? And I don't really feel like I have to justify myself or explain myself in any way, shape, or form to you just because you feel like you have to call it out because you've got a problem with me. Okay? So that in itself is a little bit of a problem. This looks like a power struggle here. Like there's a lot of, let's say, pent up energy that exists in the relationship that is not being fully, let's say, addressed or challenged to the point where both parties are realizing they're very, very equally matched in terms of power, where you, Leo, are, let's say, taking the approach of justice, where the other party is literally taking the approach of dominion. Like it's almost like complete and absolute ownership of themselves, their power, their dignity, their humanity, to the point where, as far as they're concerned, it doesn't even really matter what your decisions or opinions or judgments may be, because they are just going to continue to be themselves anyway. So that puts things at a very, very, let's say, combustible level where you've got two highly, equally well-matched energies here that are possibly in a state of simmering or ongoing, let's say, head butting, but it could be happening in a very, very, very subtle, delicate way that doesn't actually really turn into a full-on combat. It's more about posturing, because with the Five of Wands here, there's a lot of passionate expression happening, but it's done in a way where there's not a lot of harm done. It's almost like the sportsmen and the fighters who fight for the sake of fighting so that they can improve their skills. It's like chess people playing, like, we're going to play hardcore chess because and it can be very satisfying because you can have a lot of passionate expressed where you have two very, very well matched, let's say, opponents. Let's just get it out there, opponents. And in that case, it's going to be a very interesting scuffle, because it's going to bring out the very, very best in each other and the very, very worst of each other in order to do things the way that has to be done. But I'm not saying the worst in like devious or underhanded, but more like they are going to do whatever they have to do in order to prevail, okay? In terms of absolute power, in other words, they are claiming absolute power here, and they're holding on to that right to do so, and you're claiming more of a posture of justice. So those are two very different but very strong expressions of power and self and identity happening simultaneously here. But again, it could be like gentle sparring, almost like, oh, hello. Hello, my loved one. How are you today? Hello, my loved one. How are you today? I've made a decision about blah, blah, blah. And they're coming back like, oh, well, that's fine. Good for you. Excuse me, I'm busy. And then you're left powerless, because this is absolute power. And because they refuse to even engage with the process, oh, excuse me, I'm busy, then you're left like it doesn't even matter what you decide because they've already decided for you. It's that, that expression, have you heard that? When I want to know your opinion, I'll tell you what it is. Something like that. In other words, I'm not going to use some of the language that I would normally use because this is a public channel and we're trying to keep it clean. All right. So, Leo, let's go deeper inside of you. Hold on. Okay. So let's say, Leo, deep down, you're actually doing your best to try and figure out what is going on here. Am I really, truly appreciated? Am I truly understood? Have we really got a team effort going on here? Or is this two highly individuals in a relationship who are actually living their own lives in what they think is a relationship, but is actually more or less like a game, an exciting, weird, fun game where there's a lot of this and a lot of this, push and pull, or like, oh, I see what you're doing, I get it. So nothing hostile or nothing malicious going on, but more uh, sport, game, role playing, activity, passionate expression, everything. Uh, but we're not seeing exactly the love card here yet. Uh, of course, it can be very satisfying to have this kind of relationship, but some people might want more. You might be so immersed in the gamesmanship and the power and balances that you lose sight of the love and why you originally came together. And that's what might be going on here, because I'm sensing deep down that there is this, because this is such dominant energy, this is such strong power. It's almost, there's no way to deal with this once they've decided that this is who they are and that's how they're going to behave right now in October. So it puts you in a position where you'd be asking yourself, well, is this all worthwhile? What am I doing here? Why am I here? Am I really truly understood and valued in ways that actually make sense in a healthy relationship? That's the Three of Pentacles right now. And I would love to be valued. I'd like to be appreciated, and to the point where I'm willing to call it out to find out what's actually going on. However, it's like you're knocking on a door that's shut over here, Leo. What's another expression for that? Um, you're butting your head against a brick wall, and it's not going to get you anywhere. So that could lead to a lot of frustration, which gets you back into this again. You know, like going through all the activities of relationship, all the ups and downs and the expressions of relationship, as opposed to the love of a relationship. So let's have a look deep inside the other. Okay, there's a lot of big cards here. So, Leo, because you're such a strong sign, you've just come out of the eclipses and everything, you might be going through a lot of convulsive changes in your life where you're getting a feeling like there's a lot that's being let go and released as new things unfold. And the new thing that's unfolding is that you might be coming to an awakening where you're realizing, who the heck am I relating to over here? I always thought you were so and so and so and so, and everything was, balanced out, and we were a great team. And I love being a team with you, and I'm totally happy to be a team player, and I bring a lot to the relationship. But I'm calling it out right now because what I'm sensing is that you're getting too big for your boots. Okay? Leo is calling you out, dear significant other. Either they're doing it by actions or words or by posturing, or, the back and forth posturing, where if you, Leo, are sensing that you've got a significant other who is, well, not say just getting too big for their boots, that might be from your perspective, but from their perspective, they're coming into themselves in a way that's never happened before. And it's about time for them where they actually get to tap in and feel what it's like to be their fully individuated, masterful selves, where they claim their right to have dominion over their life and their world, their body, their whole being. And deep down, literally almost like acting as if, even though they might not have it all down yet, they're acting as if like they are the ultimate boss and authority of everything, which leaves you kind of in a diminished position here, which is not exactly Leo's most favorite way of being. And yet at the same time, that's almost becomes a turn on for the other party over here, where they're realizing, wow, it really does work. When I claim my right to be myself, it's actually very empowering because it has a real live effect. And all of a sudden, that puts the other party in a position where they're sensing their strength, their own, let's say, egoic power. And I don't think there's any desire to exploit that or use it in ways that are harmful towards you, Leo, or the relationship itself. They might be really enjoying this process. They might be really, really benefiting from what's going on in the relationship itself. And they're actually, let's say, rising into their own power simply because of what's happening in themselves as a person, partly to do with what's happening in the relationship. And in so doing, going deeper, they're realizing, gosh, it really works. Now, all I have to do is like turn this power, this new sense of self, into a very dignified soul power. as opposed to just pure, raw human power or egoic power. With great power comes great responsibility. And I think, Leo, you're relating to someone who is aware of that deep down inside. They are aware that they are deliberately behaving like this, posturing like this, living their life as though they are the complete masters of their universe, including the relationship and themselves. And that suits them just fine because they may never have tasted that before, and it's about time, and they think this is absolutely awesome. And deep down, they know it means that they are going to be challenged, perhaps later on, to, let's say, refine that power so it becomes power, not power for the self, but power for the will of heaven, power for the power of spirit, the soul power, where it's power and dominion that's uh, being made available, like for the will of heaven to be used. In other words, it's almost like they're making deliberately rising into their own power, allowing that to happen, and then surrendering themselves and their power to a greater, higher good, a spiritual calling that is as yet undefined. That's how it feels from over here at Terra Lumination, Leo. So that might feel very odd to you. Like, what the heck is going on with you? Like, who do you think you are? Where do you think you're uh, going with all of this? And the other person is going, I'm just living my life. Thank you very much. Love you very much. Love you. And it leaves you figuring out, well, I have to call this out because you're growing and gaining so much light and so much power, and you're already figuring out what you're going to do with that, so you can conduct yourself very responsibly, very ethically, very in a very spiritual, soulful, loving way, so that you don't turn into a despot. That, for you, Leo, is something to observe, which would make you want to almost like go, what? Like, I don't know how to deal with this. I'm a Leo. I should know how to handle it, but I don't know how to deal with this. They're off on a they're just off on their own thing, and it leaves you, maybe Leo, a little bit floundering about what to do and how to do it. I mean, you're still engaged. There's still strength and passion and power here from all around. It's the question that leaves you feeling, let's say, the ego would be challenged. The Leo ego would be challenged to the point where you almost feel like you might have to be defending yourself because they are starting to radiate so much power, raw power and soul power. Okay? That's a lot for anybody to relate to head on, face to face. Let's have a look at the relationship itself. So the relationship itself is placed in a position of, let's say, I like to think of it as very refined ambiguity, where both parties, in their own very different way, are realizing what's going on, but they don't have exactly any clear understanding in terms of words about how to express it in a very down-to-earth, simple way of relating. It's more about, this is going on over here for you, Leo. This is going on over there with them. It's triggering a lot of almost like electricity in the air, where you can feel it. Like Leo, you can feel their power rising, their rising power and their soul power. And they love doing that, and they're being that way. But in so doing, it puts the relationship in question to the point where, even if you want to make a judgment call, if you want to call it out and bring order back into things and balance the way you think they should be, or the way they used to be when everything was working as a team, as opposed to them off on their own thing, leaving you a bit like left out in the lurch, that leaves you having to make a decision about, what do we do now in the relationship? The relationship is still there. It looks like it's still very strong, but another way to look at it here is you, Leo, are now looking at the relationship. Well, what am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to handle this? How would anybody handle all this over here? And they might be thinking, and they might not even be thinking about it like, They might, like, it's not their concern. They're just being themselves. So you get stuck with trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. And it might be that the healthiest thing to do right now is to deliberately choose to decide not to decide. In other words, don't put the relationship in any kind of jeopardy. Just simply observe, let things be. If you're drawn into, let's say, power struggles and battles where you feel that you are being tested because they are testing their own strength and power through the reflection of you, and in so doing, you now feel like drawn into a power struggle with them, uh, in order just to maintain your dignity and honor and your status. And so, rather than get into, let's say, a Five of Wands scuffle that could, that's more or less healthy. That's actually trying to figure this out. If it gets to the point where you hit a trigger or a nerve on each other, the relationship is indicating the best thing to do would be step back, don't press the button, don't do anything rash, just be prepared, be willing to live through the period right now where let's not decide anything. And that's perfectly okay. That's a decision. It can be a very effective form of defense and protection. In order to protect and defend the relationship, make a decision to do nothing. All right? Make a decision to not decide anything right now in October. Just live through the October season, the October period, and continue to evaluate and assess, and just live with the discomfort, or live with the challenges and the power struggles that might be going on this way before you make any concrete decisions. So let's see, where's the momentum here? Ha 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 ha. It's very tempting right now just to say, oh, well, just leave it all to fate, you know? But in some ways, that could be a very, very effective way to get through October for you, Leo, because there's such power cards here. Look at this for the significant other and yourself. And now the relationship dynamic from Tarot Lumination perspective is to be very cautious before actually, acting on any decisions. You might really, really want to call out decisions and get judgments calls so that you can have clarity right now. But the chances are that this dynamic we've discussed is going to continue for a while, until the steam settles down, until this significant other over here have lived through the experience that they need in order to understand who they are and their full radiance and their raw power and their soul power, with the lovely thing that happens in relationship when you get the reflection from someone who's strong enough to stand there at their side. But what it does, it puts the relationship in jeopardy about what to do and how to do it. But so the good thing is to just let things be as they are and let them unfold however they unfold, and literally trust in the universe, trust and understand that all the energies of the universe, all the elements, earth, air, fire, water, night and day, all the planetary movements, all the minute events that happen in a day, all the big events that happen in the relationship and that have happened in your relationship over time, they all add up to make sense in a way that you could call destiny. And the call here for you, Leah, would be to allow the destiny of the relationship to unfold without forcing it, simply by allowing it to unfold, by taking a very graceful, neutral posture of not forcing or making any decisions. Just allow things to unfold according to what would happen to the laws of attraction. Just let this occur. Give them their moment of glory and power and light and soul power. You stick to yourself, mind your business, allow things to mature and become more understood perhaps in November, but not right now. Allow this all to unfold and live through the fun, the disruption, the excitement, the passion, whatever it might be. Okay? Nothing is lost here. Everything is just fine. It's just that there's a lot of There's a lot of power being expressed below the surface, okay? So thank you so much. Thank you, Leo. Watch for your sun, moon, rising. Squish it all together. Tell your own story, all right? Make the best of October, all right? Let me just put this here for you, just for reference. I forgot. I keep forgetting to do that, all right? So that's the weather. All right, bye-bye, Leo.